Over my career, I've made a lot of music. Sock pop, played kazoo, recorded over 100 tracks, been able to topline for fantastic producers, and acquired a lot of gear. I'm going to walk you through the 7 main pieces in order of importance, share some pro and some ghetto tips, and show you some mistakes to avoid when buying gear. There's a bundle in the description with a gear list and infographic style guide to help you sort out what you actually need. There's a whole bunch of goodies in there, so make sure you check it out. Before we get to the main setup, I first want to share the most basic setup that actually works. Using something like the BandLab app on your phone or web browser is a great start if you're looking to just get your feet wet. It's great for when you're traveling or just jotting down ideas. I'll share an example of some BandLab music at the end so you can hear what's possible. The workflow is slow though, so if you're serious about music, you're gonna want to go with... You don't need a beast of a machine to record music. When buying a computer for music creation, you want to prioritize things in this order: the CPU, the RAM, the type of storage, and then lastly, the graphics card. Graphics cards are great for gaming, doesn't really matter for music. USB 2 is fine in most cases. Watch out for high-end audio interfaces like the Apollo Twin though. Some want a Thunderbolt or a USB 3 input. We'll cover what audio interfaces are in a moment. Any Mac you can get your hands on will work, as well as any PC or laptop with at least 8 gigs of RAM. You'll know you need to upgrade your computer when your music playback starts sounding like this. If that's the case, you can upgrade in the order I just mentioned. CPU first, then RAM, and then storage. Next thing you're going to need is a program to record and edit your music in. That's called a DAW, or a digital audio workstation. There are paid ones and there's free ones available. Which DAW you choose, it's not really important. Just have a look at a couple from the bundle, watch some tutorials, try some demo versions. They're all basically the same thing. It really just comes down to which one best suits your workflow. My studio uses Reaper. Next up, you're going to need to hear what you're doing. You're looking for studio-style headphones with a flattish response. That just means that the bass isn't boosted and you can hear the full spectrum of sound. If you can make a track shine in studio headphones, then they'll likely sound great on other sources too. Pro tip, the ear cups, the padding, and the cable will degrade before the speaker elements will. So consider studio cans that have replaceable parts. No point buying a new set of headphones just because the cable on your current pair is crackly. My studio uses KRK KRS 8400s. I also put little booties on my ear cups to protect them even further, because that's how ghetto I am. It's basically a music keyboard that plugs in via USB. It doesn't make sound on its own. You use it to play VSTIs. The cheap end of the spectrum is generally fine. More money just adds fancier things like buttons and knobs and these bad boys right here. It's all just fluff mostly. Small keyboards are really great. The less space they take up, the better in my book. There's some Bluetooth ones as well, which is pretty chill. I use a whole bunch of them in my studio just for different purposes. Sometimes I want a big piano one, sometimes I just want to do a little melody. So if you want to see that kind of stuff, check out the links in the description. This is how you get your sounds made outside of the computer, inside the computer, through the magic of cables. Guitar cables look like this and go into holes on the interface that look like this. Mic cables look like this, that go into holes that look like this. You may see a hole like this in which you can plug a cable like this or this. Have a look at the Focusrite stuff. They're red audio interfaces. They're generally pretty reliable. My studio uses a Motu Ultralight AVB. A pro tip, get some Velcro cable ties and a couple of screws and attach your interface under your desk. You rarely touch it, so clear up that desk space. Now a word of warning, generally, the more inputs on the interface, the more expensive it is. So why not get a USB mixer with a whole bunch of inputs and beat the system? Ha! That's how they get you. In fact, that's how they got me back in the day. Twice! A lot of USB mixers, they mix down your stems into one track, making future editing impossible. Don't be an idiot like me and fall for it. Unless you actually need a USB mixer for live streaming, don't get one. They're a trap. Hot tip, If you have a guitar multi-effects pedal with a USB port on the back, you can very likely use it as an audio interface. And they often come with direct outs as well that you can plug your monitors into. We'll talk about audio monitors in a moment. When we talk about mics, we also need to talk about audio treating your room. We'll discuss that more in a moment. But as far as mics go, you can't go wrong with an SM58. It's a high quality, yet cheap and reliable general purpose workhorse. A popular mic you might see online these days is the SM7B. It's a special kind of mic that out of the box is really quiet. If you have a lower end interface, you're hardly going to hear it unless you turn the gain way up, but then you'll also hear the preamp hiss in the background. To fix that, you're going to need a cloud lifter or a higher end interface. I used the Shure 55SH Series 2. I bought it back in 2007 and people ask me about it all the time at gigs. It works great. I've never had a problem with it. It's basically a SM58 in kind of like a more fun case. My go-to mic stands are from Hercules stands and have a boom clamp and a mic clip. All cheap mic stands, they just sag over time, so I recommend these ones over them. Even though they cost a little bit more, it'll save you buying 3 crappy ones that endlessly need adjusting. Plus the mic clip makes switching mics a breeze. Pop filters are all the same really, just something in between you and the mic to stop the plosive and aggressive mouth sounds from hitting the mic. You can use a sock over the mic in a pinch. You can use your finger or a pencil between you and the mic, or pantyhose on a coat hanger. But the real OGs do it like this. Yes, you merely adopted the pop filter. I was born in it. Be one with the pop filter. Not all mics need a pop filter. If yours comes with foam that you can remove, then you won't need one. You don't buy these for how loud they go. You buy them because of how clear they sound. You're mostly using these as a mix reference. Rocket 5s like this bad boy right here are a fantastic bassline, and I've used them across multiple studios. If they're good enough for Skrillex, they're good enough for you. Bigger monitors are for bigger rooms. Yeah, sure, they look cooler, but you don't need them. Don't waste your money. Check the gear guide in the bundle to see if you really need any acoustic treatment. Generally, acoustically treating your room makes your recordings sound like this instead of like this. Just having stuff in your room is already a great start. It helps the sound bounce in random directions. But a carpet and some DIY insulation panels go a long way. Or you could have a perfectly treated studio with something as simple as a blanket. Does it get hot in here? Yes. But boy, it sounds sexy, baby. Ooh. But you know, sometimes it's just nice to have a little bit of ambiance sound as well. So you don't need to slap acoustic panels on all of your walls, okay? A good way to know where to treat your room for mixing is to sit where you would normally do your mixes and get your friend to walk along the wall with a mirror facing you. And if you can see the speakers, that's where you need to add something to muffle or deflect the sound from bouncing back into your ear. In the gear list, I link you to a fantastic resource for DIY and professional acoustic treatment, so make sure you check it out below. Now, before I tell you about the 8th mythical piece of gear, I need you to help me with something. If I made a mistake in this video, let everyone know in the comments. As a community, we can really help each other out. Also, give me a like if you want to help support me, and subscribe if you want to help support yourself. The most important piece of gear that you have at your disposal is the artist. You can make amazing stuff with just your phone and your phone's mic. Fancier things are just more practical or personally inspiring for you to use. Over time, you'll start to recognize bottlenecks in your workflow that can be alleviated by different pieces of gear and upgrades. It's a learning process, but it starts with you as an artist. If you don't have the cash yet, don't worry. Just keep practicing your guitar or your piano or your kazoo or your triangle. Use your limitations creatively. Understand your gear and your instruments inside out. The gear generally won't make your music sound better. It'll just make it easier to make. Now let's have a quick listen to a phone jam.